Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today I have my VBMA Michael Anthony signature all valve 300 watt bass amplifier head, and I'm going to be swapping out the stock Ruby tubes from China that this came with. And I think there's actually some JJ preamps valves in there as well. And we're going to be replacing them with a full set of Electro-Harmonix 6CA7 big bottle tetrode power valves, and then I think 4 12AX7s and 2 12AT7s. All are gain matched, and we're going to be installing them in this amp. Now the good thing is that all these valves inside are still good. I'm going to keep them as a spare, and I'll just quickly go over the process of changing out the valves. We will have to go and rebias the amplifier so that it's idling properly, and let's get into it. First things first, we need to remove this back panel in order to get access to the chamber where all the valves are located. Once the back panel is removed, you can pretty much get access to everything in here. You see the 8 power valves there, and then there are 4 preamp valves on the back wall. So you have the AT7 all the way to the left, and then your 3 12AX7s there. And then over here, you got your 12 AT7 and AX7 here. And the only way to get any of those out is to take out the power valves. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put on some rubber gloves. I can just push these down and I can gently take each one of these out, making sure I track the position of them. The interesting thing with both the VB3 and the MA is that it can be biased for either EL34s or 6L6 GCs, and your bias potentiometer is right there. Here's the result of the biasing. I was able to install the EHX off camera. I did all the preamp valves, as you can see. I got a matched octet set from Viva Tubes over in East Hampton, Massachusetts, and shout out to Austin. Thank you so much. I've been buying tubes from him for a while now. This is not the only amplifier. He gave me a middle 40s IP match set within 5%, and then also the transconductance, which is the bottom number here, is within a 15% range as well, which that is about the best that I could expect. In my VB3 for compare, I bought those directly from EHX, from Robin and Gary, were my reps over in New York there, and they were able to get me a 52 IP matched with a 7600 transconductance for all 8 tubes. But it's not easy to find something like that if you're trying to match the set. And this is where I kind of ran into a small problem, but not a big one. Basically, I was able to bias this particular tube at 26 milliamps, but then I left the bias dial the way it is, went and moved the probe over to the other tube, let it warm up for 5 minutes, then turn on the standby, let it warm up for another 5-10 minutes, for the current to stabilize. It takes a long time because I only have one bias probe here. There are some tools out there where you can get 4 probes or 8 probes, or get 2. I'll put a link into it. That's actually something I've been wanting to get, and maybe I can get it as a Christmas gift. Who knows? Where you can actually go and just measure the current of all the tubes at the same time, rather than just doing it one at a time like how I did it. But basically what I found was that this one was running at 26, but then this one was running at 24, this was at 25, this was at 25.7, 24, 25, and all within a 2 milliamp range, let's say. And that's good. That's about the best that you can expect, because there's going to be what's called drift. As these tubes age and as they wear in more, they're going to drift ever so slightly. That's why you need to adjust the bias every so often. So what I did was, though this has a 500 volt plate voltage regulated from the power supply here, and if you're doing the math, which I'm sure some of you guys are doing that as you're watching this video, 26 milliamps at 500 volts is very cold. It's below 60% dissipation, and that 26 is the recommendation of Peavey. Now the VB2, the more traditional linear power supply with a heavier 156 pounds, that one is 550 volts. Sometimes, depending on your wall power, could be 560, 575 volts. So 26 milliamps makes more sense for that particular amplifier. This one, you could probably go 30 milliamps a tube, maybe even 32, and still be just fine. But again, it's trying to match them all within a specific range. You don't want one to be overly driving taking on more of the stress. If this one's running way hotter than this one, that's kind of the issue you run into. A match set is not going to be perfect. But enough about that. I was able to get it to 26. I saw the other ones were running a little bit colder than I wanted to, so I brought this one up to 28 milliamps. And then the rest of them, when I double check that, and this did take some time off camera, so I do apologize. I didn't film any of that. I figured it would be pretty boring. I was able to get 28, about 26, 26.3, 27, 26, and 25. They're all within 2 milliamps of each other. I'm going to call it done. That's about the best that I could expect, and the amplifier sounds great. I'm just going to take the probe out, put this down, take the probe out, and put everything back together, and we're going to give it a test and see how good it sounds. All right, we got the amp running here, and I'm actually I'm getting rid of the sunlight glare so you can get a good picture of the 6 CA7s running here. And definitely don't see any red plating. It's just that typical glow that you see. No issues here. And I have the front lights off, so it's not causing any other backwash of the lighting there, but everything seems to be running the way I wanted it to. Great. Gonna button this back up, and we'll get this set up with the mixing board and the microphone. Take a listen. We got the amp all set up. It is currently warming up. We have it hooked up to my 410 and 1x15 here. I have the microphone directly to the cone of one of the 410 speakers. Everything runs back here to the PV6 mixer where we have the microphone, and then we are going to have the XLR DI out. And I don't know if I can do this here. I'm just going to look past the camera, guys. Sorry. We're going to go and set this to post EQ. Also, we've set this for 2 ohms since each of these cabinets are 4 ohms a piece set up in parallel. I'm going to get the camera set up on a tripod here, and then what we'll do is we'll hook up the Peavey USB mixer directly to the camera so you can hear not only the direct sound but also the mic'd up cab here. I'm going to try to blend those as best I can. Probably do a 50-50, but we'll play around with some of the settings and see how it goes. I'm going to be off camera as I'm playing this because my woof is right here and I just don't have the heart to move her. She's just hanging out here with me, and let's get you guys set up. All right, I got you set up on the tripod. I'm now going to hook up the USB mixer so that we hear everything. The first main channel here is going to be for the microphone to the cabinet, and then the channel 2 is going to be the direct out. I'm going to just try a 50-50 blend first, and then we're going to solo each one. I got the levels hopefully set correctly, and we'll try not to cause any clipping, but the interesting thing that I'm hearing, at least through the headphones as I'm playing, is that the tone between the microphone cab and the DI out are completely different, and you really get an interesting, especially the overdrive, when you blend the two together. All right, guys, you can see the front panel here. I was messing around a little bit with the tone control and also the blend. I did adjust this overdrive volume to about 6 just to give a little boost, because with the blend channel you do lose a little bit of overall volume, so I just brought it back up here. We have our low set to 6, mid to 8, set to 800, then we have it set to 7 for the highs. My resonance and presence for at 6 and 7 respectively, and the overall volume I was somewhere around 1.5 here. And then for that last bit in the previous segment here, I was a little about 2.25, and it just got a little too loud and my dog walked away, and can't say I blame her. But hopefully that gives you a good idea of what this amplifier head can sound like. I really am surprised actually on how the microphone mic to the cab sounded on its own versus the DI. I really like the blend of the two, and depending on what you're looking for, especially with the overdrive, I think a blend of the DI out and a good microphone. Now this microphone is a clone of an SM57, probably not the best for this application. Maybe a larger diaphragm microphone might be better. Could be an idea for a future video. Hope this is giving you guys an idea of the tone, and this really doesn't replace on what it actually sounds like live from two big cabinets. This thing can go way louder, and obviously I cannot do it in place this small. My studio office here is only like 12 by 13 feet. It'll get very loud very quickly. Neighbors won't be happy. That's what this is for, is to make a lot of noise. To summarize my thoughts on this, this is one beast of an amplifier head. And I know not many people had a chance to ever try one of these, and it's just such a limited production, rare head. And you know, if you got to see Michael Anthony play live during his Chickenfoot years, this was the amplifier that he was using. Now, from an overdrive perspective, I really think that you can get something very similar to with the VB3. And this amplifier just allows you a lot more flexibility because of that blend channel. In that last segment, I really like that 75% clean, 25% overdrive, with the overdrive tone a little bit brighter, and then you can adjust that accordingly. With the VB3, you don't have that blend, so you'd have to mess with the EQ, the graphic EQ in your 3-band a little bit more, but it's doable. This amplifier is definitely the crown jewel of my collection, and unfortunately, it'll never be my main rig. I do take this out for special occasions, for special gigs, or if it's a small one, or if I'm going over a friend's house. I really don't take this out too often on the road, because for two reasons. One, it's rarity. If this thing ever got stolen, I know that I would never be able to replace it. It would be a snowball's chance in hell if I ever found another one in this condition. Two, it's also expensive to operate. You can imagine the cost of valves that I just put in there can get very expensive if you don't know where to look. And for those reasons, that's why this amplifier is relayed to more the studio and the occasional gigs here. And I'm glad to know that it can record a nice decent tone after doing this. So that's really what its main purpose is going to be. And plus it just looks incredible at night. Well guys, I'm going to end the video here. I honestly have been trying to keep this video as short as possible and concise. I honestly can talk for over an hour if I really wanted to about this amplifier and the VB3. Unfortunately, it just would probably get very boring, except for the ones that are really interested in these amplifiers. Probably the saddest point that I can think of is that we're likely not going to see another amplifier like the VBMA or the VB3 that has a switch mode power supply with 302 watts. It's just not economically feasible in today's market unless valves were to come down tremendously in price. That's not to say that someday we can see an amplifier like this, but in a much more scaled down version, say a switch mode power supply, but instead of 8 big valves in there, maybe there's 4, or maybe there's 2, and you get a similar preamp setup here with the blend channel or something like the VB3. That's very possible. It's just that the sheer volume of valves inside there just makes it very impractical for many people to get a model like that, an amplifier of that configuration, to sell big sales units. It's just hard to justify. As always, if there's any questions at all, if you have one of these amplifiers, I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to know how you're using it. How has it been treating you? If there's any problems, I do have contacts at Peavey that I've worked with for many years. If you have any problems, I can help you get connected to the right people if you're having any kind of trouble with these things. And, you know, it's just a little passionate hobby of mine that I enjoy the tube amplifier world, and I hope to be able to pass on the knowledge to anyone else that's as interested as I am on it. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.